All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 and over. Today, I'm going to treat you to a little bit of a build and wick on one of my favorite RDAs since I got it. That would be the Profile RDA by Wotofo and Mr. Just Right 1. This has been a staple in my collection since I figured out how to do it right. The innovation in this is this right here. Let's see if you see that go up and down. That is ceramic, and what it does, your mesh coil, which you'll see loops over the top here, and then this holds tension on that cotton. The downfall of mesh RDA up to this point was that cotton, as it with use and wetting and drying out, it starts to break down, and either you put too much in there and it won't wick to the middle of the coil, or you don't put enough in there and it breaks down and it doesn't touch the coil anymore, and you get a hot spot right in the middle. Mesh is terrible about hot spots. That's why it works so great in sub-ohm tanks, because they can keep it saturated all the time. But RDA is a whole nother story. But this, you can put your wick in there really tight and it'll keep tension on it, and as it breaks down, it'll rise. And that's what makes this thing work so well. But we're going to throw some new mesh in there because it was about due. And I'll walk you through it. All right. Set that right there. Wotofo sells these little canisters of Kenthal coils, and they say they're 0.18. I've gotten 0.17 to 0.19, so I mean that's well within variables. So we'll just see if we can slide one out here, and I'll see if I can get you that one up close. All right. So here is the actual mesh. See all those tiny little holes? And this one's a little bent because it's been rolling around in that canister for a while. Not very big. And I forgot my jig. No, I didn't. Just forgot where I put it. In the package, they send you this jig. It's branded, it's ceramic coated. And this end is for your standard coils. If you want to do a single coil builds, that's what you can wrap it on. Or this end is for the mesh. And this, shaping the mesh is simple. You just lay it straight on there and then bend it around the jig. Make sure it's straight. I usually give it a little roll back and forth. And that's it. That's all there is to it. And then you open up your clamps, and fat fingers. And it drops right in. Yeah, I have a little trouble moving my fingers sometimes. And I hold a light tension on there, just enough to keep it from wiggling as you tighten it up. And these clamps, they have a Phillips head or flathead screw in them. So surely you've got something that'll do it. The screwdriver that came with it was a joke. It was way too small. But there it is, snugged up. I didn't super tighten it. It kind of looked that way, but I didn't. And this is on 15 watts. It's a new coil, so at 0.19. Alright, this is 15 watts. And because it takes nothing to heat mesh. If you run it, if you try to dry burn it like you do regular coils, you're going to burn it up. Because there, as you see, at 15 watts, that's how fast it ramps. Alright. Now you saw the smoke come off of it, and you know all the oils and everything are gone. Wotofo also sells their own cotton. And it comes like this with an aglet on the end of it, or a little piece of heat shrink or whatever. And this is supposed to be ideal for the Profile. And they work really well. And it is really easy. But I'm going to go the hard route. The diameter inside of these coils is supposed to be roughly 6 millimeters. Now we got some bacon prime, and I'm used to dual coil builds at 3 millimeters. So essentially what you can do is take what you would normally use for your dual coils, and that's about right. Feels about right. And what you can do is double it. No, that's not enough. Just take that, fold it in half, and double it, because you're not having to do 2 coils, you're only wicking 1. So make a good twist there on the end, and easy to get through the hole. Now as you're pushing your cotton through, you can push down on that tensioner, and that makes sure that it's pushing down, so you'll have tension up against that cotton whenever it gets in its final resting place. And I just, as usual, I just typically wiggle it back and forth. You want it to kind of fluff up on the ends. And just a rough trim, cut the excess off. Rough trim on this end, and you want to be sure and cut the fold out of it. Alright, get our trash out of the way. And then I'll give it another little trim here. Get a little bit closer. Alright. And see, I got it a little crooked, but that's not a problem. You just wiggle it, center it up, and then here's where my technique differs a little from some of the others that I've seen. One of the videos, I can't remember the guy, or I'd give him props for it, because it works pretty well, but I just found a way that works better. He called it a pancake style. Essentially, he spread his out, just fanned it out in all directions, and then he would take and cut the top. And I think Rip Trippers did this as well, and it does work, but I've found the way that works, that I like best, is just fan it out, and I trim the bottom. So what I'm going to do, and I don't know if these scissors are small enough to get in there, but I take and trim that off at an angle. Oh, come on, scissors. There you go. These are not fine detail scissors. So we'll go to the little ones. All right. And just fold that top up. Cut the bottom. These don't like cutting that much material at once, but you'll have to do. And flip this up. We had to work this one down. We'll just trim, and I trim it pretty much all the way back to the posts, because this part of the cotton is not, it's just tension. It's not coming in contact with the juice, it's not coming in contact with the coal, so it's really not, it doesn't matter what it looks like under here. You just need to thin it out so that you're not stuffing the juice well with cotton. All right. I think that's sufficiently cold out there. Just kind of trim up the edges, make it look nice. Doesn't matter, it's going in the hole anyway. And then I take the top and I tuck it down into the juice well. And what that does, that keeps the strands that are in contact with your coil are the ones down in the well wicking up the juice. And everything underneath just stays wet, just to keep everything wet. Just tuck that down in there roughly. And you want, see how it's got that hump there? You want this cotton to be up above the edge of the coil, or there will be a hot spot. All right. Now that looks pretty good. All right, now let's get a little bit of this stuff out of the way. Now, see, it's wicked, pretty. Now, I could just put the cap on and squonk it, but I typically don't do that. I prime my regular coils, and so I'll prime this one. Remember, we're at 15 watts. Just take some of my Budget Vapors Colonel Custard line. This is the Private Shug, and it is a caramel custard that I'm in love with. And I'll paint it a little bit, get a little bit weld up on top of there, and touch that button. And as it heats, it will suck it into the cotton. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just sucks it right in. That's 15 watts. And I'll go ahead and wet the ends of it just for a good measure. All right. Now this top cap is designed to fit one way. It does have airflow controls. Let's see if I can get it apart. And I have actually sanded mine. They're originally coated just like the rest of it, so you couldn't see it on the black one. You couldn't see the adjustment, which I run it wide open anyway. But you see, it'll go all the way open, and you can close off the top row, and then you can just close it off almost all the way. It doesn't quite close all the way off. which who needs two? That back together, and there's little tabs in there that line up with these grooves so your air comes across the coil. And there it is. It's not on. You just turn it, slightly push down, and I missed it. There it is. Pops into place. I will take the top off and we'll give you a little squonk demonstration. It squonks right in the middle. So you see that coil gets wet. The cotton's wet right in the middle. And then G-Box will suck back everything you don't need. Cap back on it. And we're going to go up. I run typically right about 50. Of course I went too far. Alright, 50 watts. A little half-second toot. And there it is, folks. That is my build and wick on the Wotofo Mr. Just Right 1 Profile Mesh RDA on the Geek Vape G-Box. You like it? Let me know. I appreciate your time. Come back and see me.